Cámara graba. Esto es entrevista 3.
Entrevista 3. Okay. Nice. Wasn't the best claqueta. Should I do another one? Just in case. Claqueta 2.
Right.
So as we said, if you take the time you need to review the map in question, recite the title, and then try and condense it to the core of the map, taking 3 to 5 minutes.
Okay. Are you ready?
Are you ready?
All right. Yeah, for sure.
Let's go.
Well, I'm very interested in psyche because it's the origin of the word psychology. It means soul, but Psyche was also a goddess, and she was the goddess of our souls. And the story is that she was a very beautiful princess, but no man would marry her or court her. Something, we're not told, something put them off. And her father, in despair, asked Apollo what he should do, and Apollo said she had to dress in mourning and sit on a high mountain, and a winged serpent would come and carry her away, and that he had to trust Apollo. Everything would be fine. So, full of fear and trepidation, she sits on the mountaintop, and the winged serpent carries her away, and she falls asleep, and she wakes up in a palace where she is the queen, and is waited upon hand and foot, and is wonderfully comfortable. And at night, an unseen lover comes and makes beautiful love to her, but he asks her just one thing, that she not see him, that she trust him and not look at him. And her sisters tell her she's being seduced by a hideous winged serpent, and she's so curious that she shines a light on him, and immediately he wakes up and he flees. And in desperation, because she wants him back, she asks Aphrodite, can she somehow bring her back? But Aphrodite is jealous and says she has to perform all kinds of impossible tasks, which actually she does perform with the help of animals. But then Aphrodite is still jealous, gives her a poison that puts her in a perpetual sleep, and Eros, or Cupid, comes to her with his arrow and wakes her up. And that myth is interesting because in the West we always wanted to mean one thing, but I think it means lots and lots of things. It means one thing to somebody facing death. It means something else to a young bride terrified of sexual relations. It means something to anyone who goes out into the dark, and anyone who must trust somebody with their life and not know what's going to happen next. The story is full of meaning, and it is told and retold again and again, and every time, depending on our situation, it means something different. If we retell it during different times of our life, it'll mean different things to us, and that, I think, is the essence of mythology. And the fascinating thing about the Greeks was they didn't have a one god. They had many gods. They were polytheistic, and they were polycentric. And their gods were not supernatural. Their gods were not above nature. Their gods were part of nature. For example, Aphrodite was the force of beauty in the world. It's almost a sociology. Apollo was the force of truth in the world, and truth is enormously powerful in the world, and so is beauty. I mean, if a woman is beautiful, her whole life is changed. She appears on television or something like that, and people love her who never even met her or want to meet her and things like that. So beauty is an incredibly powerful force, and so is truth, and so is Hermes, the messenger. So is communication, and so is Dionysus. Dionysus is god of the plays, and the fact that we can play is incredibly important to civilization, because it means we can pretend, and when we pretend, we can die without dying, we can grieve without grieving, we can make mistakes without suffering, we can portray those mistakes for the sake of other people not following them. And this is enormously powerful, and it's not for nothing that some of the great civilizations, from Greek tragic drama to Shakespeare, have been brilliant at play acting, and I think one of the things that Britain can be very proud of is its theatrical tradition. And I think when we play, we say, this murder is not a real murder, this cheating is not a real cheating, and when terrible things happen to us, in reality we are so traumatized we don't learn. So if you can simulate trauma, then you can avoid it and you can warn. And also, tragedy has an upside to it. It has a beauty to it, because you have avoided really doing it. When Medea kills her own children, the audience is horrified, but the audience, which is packed around the semicircle, says to themselves, I will never hate my husband or wife so much that I ruin the life of my children. And of course, parents do that all the time. So the audience revolts against the message of the play, and they swear that they will never make the same mistake. So Dionysus, the lord of the play, is the lord both of agony and of ecstasy, both of joy and of woe. And again, a very, very clever idea. You have multiple gods, and they represent different aspects of personality. And if you can bring, and they are in conflict, and if you can bring them together, you have something brilliantly creative. From 1448 to 1429, 458 to 429, virtually everything we of Western civilization was founded just in that single generation. The first sculpture, the first architecture. The Olympic Games was a little earlier, but the first poetry, the first history, the first doctor, the Hippocratic Oath, all those were invented in just those 40 or 50 years. So something really remarkable happened then, and I think we have to take note and try and learn from it.
Do you know how long was that? Have you got a timer which tells us?
Like 7 minutes.
7 minutes? Okay.
Yeah, it'll be short. The next one will be shorter.
Do you think you could just recite the title of the first one so we've got it on the audio?
What I want to talk about is Psyche and Polycentrism, and I am much influenced by James Hillman, who's a Jungian psychologist and very interested in the classical world.
Yeah. That's perfect. That's the right kind of thing at the beginning, and then afterwards flow into it for. Yeah, so that one took around 7 minutes.
I trespassed into the next one. So
yeah.
Next one will be 4 minutes.
It's because you have a very associative mind, don't you? So you start thinking about this, and and of course it's all connected anyway. So that's what makes it so difficult to. Yeah.
Si todos son así de impresionantes, que siga, no paremos.
So, yeah.
All right, I wanted to talk about grapes grown from the twisted stump, Dionysus, drama, and democracy. And Dionysus was the god of pleasure and pain, the god of feasting, the god of drama and plays, the god of agony and ecstasy, and nearly always going to extremes in either respect. And he was a most important figure in the Greek cosmology. And the Greek drama festival was modelled on the grape harvest. I think the Greeks were famous in those days for their wine. And in the winter, the vines are beaten back and they're cut. And if you look at a grapevine before the foliage comes up, it's very gnarled. It's almost as it twisted in pain. And in as far as it is cut back and beaten back, and in as far as it is twisted in pain, it will grow an incredibly lush harvest of grapes come summer and autumn. And the Greeks believed that if you disciplined yourself, if you pruned yourself, if you suffered for your beliefs, only then could you be truly happy. So it was the movement of between late summer and winter. And if you were prepared to suffer, you would learn much and you would discover much. And in nearly all the Greek tragedies, although the heroes and heroines go through incredibly painful tribulations, finally Oedipus is the only mortal ever to be invited to join the gods on Mount Olympus. And in Oedipus at Colonus, which is the third play in the series, he is invited to join the gods. Why? Because he's suffered, he's put out his own eyes, he's acknowledged his faults, he's discovered that you learn from experience.
I check the stop.
Hello.
If you need to attend the phone.
Hello.
Ah, it's an alarm.
Hello. No, I'm alright, thanks. Goodbye. Insurance,
Yeah.
Damn. That was epic as well. It was so good.
It was what?
It was so good what you were saying, like the flow was beautiful and the content. So what was the last thing you were saying? It was because maybe we can